Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace-Attorney Chronicles. Wir sind hier stehen geblieben und wollen doch jetzt einmal sehen, was es für Zeugen in diesem Fall gibt. I, Taketsuchi, have been waiting for this moment. Sorry. Oh yes, I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Yes? This insult to the Achi family name will never be forgotten. You have become conceited with age, Council, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Strike the head of a samurai whose topknot has been cut and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day my former self died. The start of your own mini Meiji revolution? Are you modernizing as well, Council? Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Achi growth. You see the seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown? I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where is the hope exactly? I said silence. Today I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you, and my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand. It looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. The prosecution and defense each has much to lose. A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life. Ach nee. Herr Natsume ist auch wieder mit dabei. Das ist ja cool. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Und natürlich unser Detective hier in interessanter Badekleidung. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. And I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital. In fact, yes. Soon to be sold out, the satirical I Am a Cat, a sensational success by Soseki Natsume. Oh my goodness. Struggling student from the provinces, please, you needn't be in awe of me. I needn't? It's only natural that you would feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please relax. Call me Soseki, even. Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here? Treat carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun. Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hosonaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Well, your glasses for one, also, they don't seem to be helping, you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. Oh, I suppose it's this disguise, is it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. Ich find's auch immer noch cool, dass der immer noch hier sein Kellner-Tuch hat und immer noch die gleiche Pose hat, als er sich als Kellner verkleidet hatte. Ja, und dass das immer noch, so ein richtiger Running Gag schon fast, dass er das hat. It is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police detective might have been present, but what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Saseki-san? Oh, well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yumi University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. At Yumi University? After that lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the Medical Science Department. The professor over there, in fact. With Professor Mikatoba? Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about two former students who would studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy snapshots, scribbly stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in these newspapers here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. He practically threw the paper at me. Okay, gucken wir uns auch noch gleich an. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course. At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance, and the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. That detective I am at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Derby, the entire party departed accordingly for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the victim of the beach. But fortunately, I'm at peak physical fitness at the moment, so... ja, total. I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly. Ich verstehe immer noch nicht, warum immer noch diesen Husten hat und Blut hustet. Oh my, Inspector, well, you do have something on your face now. How unsightly. I do apologize. Does it mean that you went to the beach too, Father? No, fortunately I had work to finish off, but unfortunately, of course, it meant that as my assistant Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. Oh, but if only I've never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. Very well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast. Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret I am. Okay. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I've just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes, that young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed widely. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times. Hieß es nicht, dass sie nur einmal, also dass da nur eine Stichwunde ist? Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw the very moment of this heinous crime. Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, that was it. Damning evidence. What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more. Goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. The owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Membami, the initials of the defendant. This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as critical evidence. Okay. So, have I omitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence. There is a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. I don't understand. The prosecutor of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise. Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san. Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me. Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom? Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom. Cousin Ryotaro, pull yourself together, please. Alright, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they are lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do. Es ist aber tatsächlich... hier sieht man jetzt auch bei der Cross-Examination, das hat man jetzt so ein bisschen was vom originalen Outfit gesehen von Susato. Es ist aber eigentlich auch ganz schlau gemacht, weil im ersten Spiel musste sich ja Naruhodo beweisen und zu einem richtigen Anwalt werden. Und dann macht es natürlich Sinn, dass jetzt für den Tutorial-Fall vom zweiten Spiel nicht Naruhodo wieder dasteht, weil er muss das ja eigentlich nicht alles neu lernen. Er kann das ja schon alles. Und dass dann Susato als Anwältin auftritt und dort steht. Und ich finde es, ich glaube, ich hatte mich da schon ganz am Anfang vom Game drüber aufgeregt und ein bisschen beschwert, dass ich dieses Frauen haben da nichts verloren, Frauen dürfen da nicht sein und Frauen dürfen dann auch kein Anwalt sein und dieser ganze Bullshit, also was das halt für ein riesen Bullshit einfach ist und wie dumm das einfach ist. Ich würde gerne eigentlich erstmal mir meine Akte angucken. Also, wir haben Crime Scene Photograph. So, dann gucken wir uns hier einmal um. Okay, auf den ersten Blick sehe ich hier nichts. Dann haben wir den Zeitungsartikel. Ah, wie glücklich er da ausschaut. Okay, und den Pen kann ich gerade nicht angucken. Okay, so, Postmortem. Time of Death. Cause of Death. Single Deep Step Wound from Behind. Gut, dann kann ich nämlich das vorzeigen und ich glaube, es war bei der hier, I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she had stabbed the victim multiple times. Und hier würde ich gerne den Autopsiebericht vorzeigen. With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench. The stakes have been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of that menacing pose, counsel? I would like the witness to clarify something for me. Who, what, where, when, how? Not you, Saseki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said, when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, please, counsel. In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only. In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. And Soseki-san? Me? You claim to have seen Membami-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes, I did. Widely. But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point. That there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and? It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there is no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. Then what exactly is your contention, counsel? Are you ever going to tell us? Yes, Your Excellency, there's only one logical conclusion. What Soseki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't be. Excellent work, Susato. You exploded at them with that objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically. Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin stacked a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked attempting to steal... You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who has only half a head of hair. Slender, my head is quite... adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference. Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustache author is prone to moments of extravagance. I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, there is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back where we started. Sorry? Consider this, young joker boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim, and with a demon's cold-blooded composure too? The prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good. Why did Ray pull out the knife? Yes, going for the jugular. What does father mean by that? Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. The truth is, I don't really know, but I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could stab her again, save her life, hide the knife. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Mabani-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young joker. Indeed. Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, Witness. Ja, eigentlich sollst du ja, also wenn, ich glaube, es ist ja so, wenn jetzt jemand eine Stichwunde hat oder wenn jemand erstochen wird und das Messer steckt noch drin, sollst du das eben nicht rausziehen, weil dadurch würdest du, also erstens kannst du natürlich noch mehr verletzen beim Rausziehen, aber zweitens ist das ja so wie ein Stöpsel, ne? Das Messer ist ja wie ein Stöpsel, das verhindert, dass das Blut in Massen rausfließt. Und wenn du jetzt das Messer einfach wieder rausziehst, nicht nur kannst du dann eben noch mehr verletzen, sondern der Blutfluss ist ja dann extrem. Also dadurch verliert ja das Opfer nur noch umso mehr Blut eigentlich. Und ich hoffe mal, also eigentlich müssten die das doch dann so sagen, oder? I would like another opportunity to testify in respect of the slipshod assertion just put forward by the Jokel Defense Counsel, I mean. Slipshod? An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young Jokel hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense. Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Okay. Das heißt, wir haben eine nächste Zeugenaussage, und zwar Forensic Medicine Primer. Aber bevor wir uns das hier anhören, gibt es einen Cut. Ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich fürs Zusehen und hoffe, wir sehen uns im nächsten Part wieder. Bis dahin, ciao.